her talking to me and her right now. So Shay is sleuthing on my channel to ascertain if she can see us.
I'm not seeing it.
And it says,
It says we're
hold on,
recording, but I don't see
screen
where
share.
you're live.
I, we are live. For some reason, it's set to privacy. I don't need no privacy.
Got you. Okay. No, I say I don't see nothing.
Hmm. The screen can be accessed in the manner below. Exiting will not end the stream if it's currently live. Uh, Stream health, analytics. Oh my, we're trying something new, y'all. Well, the good news is our stream is in excellent health.
Yay.
That's what's being said about it. Let's see. Participants moderation activity. Why are we mastery studio? I see. It didn't do all this upload things that I did. Okay. All right. I think we're about to go live now. So hold on one
Okay.
second. Oop.
Hey, stop it.
Yeah, I did all of this before you came in, and then I clicked a button and I thought, I hoped that it was saving it, but I guess it didn't. It was like, oh, you didn't hit the save button, so we're just going to advance you without saving. Gotta love it. Riley Conversations, Season 4 premiere. Can y'all believe that it was the second season of Riley, the fourth season of Riley Conversations? I'm talking to
Say
y'all
that
like y'all
again.
are
You
here because soon
sounded a little
I
low.
said, can y'all believe that it's the fourth season of Riley Conversations? Okay, let's see. Okay, sure. Moment of truth. Mhm. Have you been noticing that YouTube is trying to turn off comment moderation? What is that about?
You mean on
Okay,
the like videos
we
or in
should be
the
moving to
live
be like
chat?
public. I mean, and on my videos, I'll look and sometimes it'll be like comment moderation, none. Excuse? Why ever not?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that before.
Mhm. Okay, I'm gonna try to refresh this screen and we're gonna see what's gonna happen.
Okay, something just happened. I just got a notification that something went live.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, it says we went live three
we
minutes in.
are live, which is true. Okay, now we know. Now we know. Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm Britt. This is my channel, Brittwriterly. It's a book and author tube where I talk about the intersections of literature and culture. If you have a need, it's form, so we are trying to smash all the bugs. So we can only see what we can see from our side. So if you can't hear us, if we look really grainy, if the video interrupts, let us know so that we can keep that in mind for the next one. This is the season 4 premiere of Ride Elite Conversations. We're reading Shay's favorite book or one of her favorite books that I'm sure you've heard her and Deidre talk about a lot. So I will let Shay introduce herself. There it is. And then I'll let her get started on her opening thoughts about this book. And we'll let y'all find us, get the notifications trickle, and all these things as we sort of do our opening statements. Shay, take us away.
Hi everybody, I'm Shay. My channel is Shay with the Hobbies. I be writing, I be reading, I be creating. If that's something you think you could be interested in, go ahead and come on over to my channel. Long Division, Kiese Layman. We love it. We love it. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Sorry, the Riverside is like we're having trouble connecting with our servers and it has been circling for a minute, so I just don't want us to be over here. Oh no, it's moving. It's happening. Okay. Cool Gamer's here, Day is here, we're being seen. Amazing. Great. I was concerned. I was like, are we really here? But we are. Okay. Hello, everyone. So, usually we just move through a few questions when it comes time to do our book talks. And it'll be the same today. I will offer a couple of questions that I'm thinking about, and I'll let Shay offer a couple of questions. If Shay's questions are more refined, or rather, Shay's questions will be more refined, because this is the second time reading this book, and it's my first. So I have questions about like general concepts and how they're portrayed in the book, and I'm sure Shay will be getting into the more nitty gritty, et cetera, et cetera. So you're gonna get a little bit of both perspectives, a newcomer to the book and a returning customer, if you will. Okay, so one like my favorite line, and it was very early in the book, so I was waiting on there to be another favorite line, but it remained my favorite. My favorite line in the book, I was actually listening to it on a Friday stream when I heard it, and it was the test that the principal gives City about it was like a true or false thing. This true, is this false, this true, is this false. Um, and there were several statements that were made, and one of them was if you have not read a book or listened to a work 3 times, you haven't read the principle before. As you can imagine, having an English degree, you read a lot, and then there are just some super principal professors who are just like, if you haven't read this multiple times, then you're not ready for a discussion. So I have heard that before. Um, but the truth is, as someone who is now taught literature, it's definitely true. Not that you haven't read it, but you haven't begun to understand it. It's just like walking through a house. You walk through a house one time. I don't expect you to be able to tell me what your favorite part of the house was or why or what this part of the house brought up for you or to walk me through that house blindfolded. I just expect you to know that you were in a house and offer a pretty rough description and even perhaps misremember where the bathroom is. But it's not the same thing as like living in that house or going over to your best friend's house multiple times. You know where the mustard is better than her mama do, right? So like it's different. And that's how I sort of like in reading a book multiple times. You get to figure out where the nooks and the crannies are, these things that seem mundane that are actually really, really important. And I also feel like that was sort of layman's way of being like, you're gonna need to read this multiple times. So if you read it the first time and you don't get it, I'm telling you now that you need to read it again. And don't tell me that you don't get it until you've read it 3 times. Because until you've read it 3 times, you haven't really capital R read it. And so I was like, okay, message received. So that was my favorite line of the book. I wonder, Shay, if you have a favorite, and that's probably hard for you to choose one, but do you have a favorite line of the book?
I don't know that I have a favorite line. But the test is like it sticks out of my mind because of that line, but also that loving someone and loving how someone makes you feel is the same thing. Um, and I think it was important, specifically to the story, like when, like this is my third time reading it, so looking at the questions and
Oh, so you read
knowing,
it now. You have now read Long
yeah,
Division.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is my third time reading it. But looking at the questions in reverse now, not at them at the beginning of the story, but in the back and looking how they apply to Satoyan. The loving someone and loving how they make you feel is one of my favorite ones, and I think it's because of like learning the difference between loving Shalea and loving Bays. Like there's a difference between the two, and
Mm,
so I like that.
yeah,
I like that. You said what?
yeah, yeah. I was just saying, yeah. This is reminding me of when Zoom started being a little different. Maybe we'll just stay with StreamYard from now on. I don't know, but um, I think there's a lag between you and I, and it could be because I like restarted the stream after I turned it from public to private. I think YouTube and Riverside are trying to catch up with that change, of course, midstream, but we'll see. Anyway, um, yeah, I just the evolution, even though I like for me personally, the reading three times is my favorite quote. When I heard it, because we'd already met Shalaya and we'd already seen him, like, I feel a Bible for you, girl. I love you. I when when I heard that loving someone and loving how they make you feel isn't the same thing, I knew that was gonna be important for City because I could see that Shalaya was already trying to bring him to like, can you stop trying to spit game and just talk to me? And actually, can you just stop trying to spit game and really just listen to what I'm trying to tell you, boy? Dang. And it, I knew that that was going to be important for him because of the way that he was relating to Shalea. On my second read, I'm gonna have to pay attention more to the journey of how he begins to express his love for Shalea, and even more important, not even more importantly, but even more interestingly to me, the journey of how he begins to love Baze, because I missed the journey. I saw the beginning of him meeting her, and I was aware and cognizant of when he realized who she really was to him. But there's a gap where I'm like him letting Shalea go off and make kissy faces with Evan and being like, I'm gonna stay with Babe. I missed how we got there. I It made perfect sense. I appreciated it. I loved it. But I just on the second read want to pay more attention to witnessing the transformation of his care for Babe and sitting with her through her pain and just like wanting to not hospice, but sort of be with her as she's moving through like time sort of catching up with her. Um So yeah, I definitely want to see that the second time instead of just realize that it's happened like I did this time because that was really just so beautiful.
Yeah, I like that, and then I liked the time because I feel like it's the first time travel novel I'd ever read. I hadn't really like I time traveling in TV shows, sure, but I hadn't seen it displayed in the book, and so I think the mechanism for time travel and it being this specific place, so you're not necessarily ending up in some indiscriminate place on some, it's this place, but just in different decades in time. I liked that mechanism of it. I also liked the way that it seemed that the way in which it was as if the time travel was just innate to who they were. Like the way in which the grandmother like speaks about people leaving but not leaving, right? People just being gone, and the difference, it begs the question of like how many people have just went back in time, not that they're gone, not that they disappeared, and how often does this happen? Because in these situations, like, she doesn't ever feel like her husband left her or ran off on her. She doesn't hold any ill will towards him or feel like that throughout the story. There really isn't any ill will for Baze, for her parents, for disappearing and not being there. And the way in which his grandmother says things like, sometimes people just go away. I just was like, I just like the mechanism for how he did it, and how it wasn't it just was, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't this big thing that really needed to be explained. It wasn't even something that was explained, or even that the characters wanted to know why this specific place took them somewhere else, and what was it about this place or anything like
Yeah.
it. That was not a topic. That was not It wasn't a questioning of the magic. The
Mhm.
magic was just there, and I really liked that of the story.
Yeah, very much so. It was, I mean, it was the best. It was the showing of like the good, the benefit of having a soft magic system. You get to just deal with the significance of what's happening without having to do all of this work to reveal and have a exposition around, well, here's how it's happening. It's like, it doesn't matter how it's happening. How it's happening is you go in the forest, you get into great, you're time traveling. That's it. But the why, like the what are we going back to do? What are you willing to risk to do it? What does that mean? What does that say about you if you are or are not willing to risk these things? And like, and that getting to be the focus, that Shalea doesn't hold it against City when she's like, I feel like you need to go home right now, and I need to be here, and I'm not holding that against you. But then let me just help you get on your way because I'm staying here. And she didn't hold that against him, even though he felt so what. I'm gonna need you to read through what's going on with her and Jewish Evan, because it's see like I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. So I thought that City was like tripping when he was like, "Why are you in his face?" Da, 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 da. But then when he's with Babe and he's like, "I'm gonna sit with my daughter because she doesn't know what her mom is doing." I'm like, "What do you mean? What is she doing with Evan?" And then she was going time traveling, and I was like, "With Evan? Like, is Shalea is Babe mixed now and wherever she is? Like, where?" I did that. I saw the train pass me by and I had no power to get on it. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where this train is going. I don't know who's on the train. I don't know. I do not know. Please, what happened? What's going on? Who's Shalaya with?
Yeah, so I never thought that she liked Evan or was like dating Evan. I got the jealousy from City's point of view, and then what I thought it was Shalea is focused on changing the things in the past that she thinks is wrong. So she wasn't concerned about the future because she's not in the future, because every time she's went back to the future she can't find herself. So I thought the way that I interpreted it was she was going back to change the world, or the world as she saw it. Because like throughout the beginning of the story and everything, like before she talks to Evan, it's evident that she has went back in time multiple times, and she doesn't necessarily want to go back by herself to change the world, but she does want to change the world. City has no intention on caring about changing anybody else's world. All he cares about is his family, which I think is perfectly fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that or anything like that. I think that it was in that moment that he realized that where his mind was at 13, 14-year old age was just completely different from where Shalea was. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I had to see the message. It threw me off. I just think that she was just in a different place because she had already put it into her mind that what she wanted to do with her life was change the world. And so that I think was how I took that situation. But I am definitely curious that if Kiese was to ever go back to Satoy and Chalet, or if he was to ever rewrite in that story realm, what happened. Because I think a point of the story that was like important to me was the origin for them wanting to go back in time originally was to save their grandfathers. So I think it was just an interesting concept to me that the origin was to always save someone or to fix something that was wrong or that she felt was wrong. Um, but yeah, but I don't know. I'm curious that if he were to ever go back into the story, or if I'm ever able to be like, "Hey, Mr. Lightman, can I get an interview?" And we talked about it, like what would happen in that? Because I'm definitely curious. Because in my head, the way the story that I read it, and especially after this last time, like
Hmm.
Shalea just continues to time travel to change the world, and that's the difference. Um, is the way that I've interpreted the story. And not just her, but them individually, like as a group, collectively, this is a thing that they continue to do. Is time travel, especially with the way that
Like the
they speak
tangents.
about her. They speak about the parents disappearing. They never speak about them dying. They never speak about his grandfather
Right.
dying. He just disappeared, and there's never any bitterness about that between his mother or his grandmother. It's just this thing that is understood, and the grandmother that's raising bays in that house is the grandmother that Centoya is visiting. So if all these things happen with the book in long division when he was a child, when Bays has that book in long division as a grandchild, great grandchild, it's already something she knows. You know what I mean?
This is just making me very afraid to write Tales of Lies book two. Because I'm just like, ooh, Kiese, listen here, listen to me. I I can have a thematic conversation with you about this book. And you're talking about who her grandmother she was visiting, because I couldn't tell you. I
I think
can't
that
hold
was
no
my
context. I
favorite
can
part of
sure.
the story was just the way that
I,
everybody ended up being related. I just loved it. Like I loved that it was this family of time travelers. Like I thought like it was dope. Especially like now that I think about it, if you ask me my favorite
and
line,
you know what?
it would be Shalea being like, "I could love you, city,
Mhm.
if you could help me change the world." I like it was my favorite line when I read it the first time, and just thinking about it now, like that would be my favorite line.
Yeah, you go back to that a lot. Um, I what's interesting, what would have been interesting would have been to read Long Division and The Dark Place at the same time, because I wonder about the way that like space time are working in these two different like terrific, horrific sort of element
Mm-hmm.
to it. And the other one is just sort of like you said, like there's a mundanity to it, and it's like, yeah, we do that. Yeah, it's not a secret. Like it's not known, but it's not a secret because when City was in the office and he saw the book, she gave it to him. So I think it's interesting to see these two books operating, talking about similar with a similar mechanism, with a similar speculative mechanism of time travel. What they're taking up is actually quite different in my like as I'm thinking right through it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brittany's book is talking about loss and grief, um, and family, and then this is family, but also a wider global community and your responsibility to family versus community. Doesn't really seem to be any. Some people decide to go back and change the world for their family, and some people decide to go back and change the world for the sake of a greater good. And there's no judgment whatever you're time traveling for. If we run into each other, we might have to team up to get something done, and then we go our separate ways, and we just keep sort of bouncing around like constellations along along the timeline. Well, time isn't linear, but around time, I'll
Right.
say, instead of along the timeline. Um, so yeah, it would be interesting to read those books together, but I also think they're doing very different things. So
Well,
it
yeah,
might make for
especially with
interesting
the type
conversation,
of
but they're not
time
necessarily
travel.
talking to each other in the same way.
Yeah, no, especially with the type of
Right.
the time travel for sure. I do think just the question of being able to do things differently has just been something that humans in general are, have had a slight consumption with. Like, if I had the chance to do this over or to do this differently, how would I have? And in that place, I like that. I also like that they were both familial types of situations as far as the mechanism for time traveling and how to time travel. Like, I don't feel like it was Evan. I feel like Evan happened upon this place to time travel. This isn't something that Evan's family did, right? Like, it's something that he did and he ended up
Mm-hmm.
in this place, right? Um, I think you should get
Mm-hmm.
off my rug. Um, I also think that one of the things that I loved the most about the story was knowing that Baze went on the adventure to spend time with her parents again. Cause she's reading the book, she knows
Right.
whose name is in the
And
book.
she knew.
She knew the book is about her parents. She always knew, and it was just this longing for my parents back. Like, even if it's not the parents I know, even because it's not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're completely different people. And to I think just the thought of getting to experience your parents as a child when you're a child is just such an interesting concept. Like, I just love the way he played with that, right? Because there's the time where Centuria's like, I mean, she pretty. I don't like her like that. I do like her. I think she cool, but not like I like Shalea. And then just that recognizing, why do I like her? Because I see Shalea in her. Because I see me in her. Not realizing that that's what I see in those moments. Mr. Layman did his thing.
He did.
Did his thing.
He did. And he wasn't afraid to really go there into the internal thoughts of a young boy, which are at times very cringy. Like, Grandma, I wouldn't mind laying with you. And sometimes, like, think about you when I get nice to myself. What? What? It, the authenticity of just City's internal dialogue was shocking. But at the same time as it was shocking, it was like, now I know you're being very intentional, you're being very real, and you are chasing this idea honestly and with integrity, even through the cringe, even through the, well, wait a minute.
Right.
Like, you're just going there and to like really facing the question of like, what would it mean if, what would happen if, what about this, what about that? How would this person with this characteristic, with these allegiances, with this moral compass, how would they go about doing this? Even if in the future they end up married and have a kid, they're still not moving through this the same way because City is City and Shalea is Shalea. Like, they're both very strong and what they want and what they believe, even if she seems to be very serious and he seems to be very not. Actually, he is deeply committed to the things that he cares about. And he's deeply committed to not allowing anyone to make him go about them in whatever serious way they deem appropriate. He's going to be seriously himself, even if that seriousness is play. And
Right.
so just seeing these two and the understanding they come to about, okay, you do that, I'm going to be with Babe. And the fact that they are kids making these decisions, understanding that yes, they're like, this is a product of our adulthood, but they're still trying to steward their future in a way that makes sense to them as they are now, which was sort of my like the fraught feelings I had on Friday when I'm seeing Babe and I'm like, you're gonna let this baby disappear. So you're going off with Evan to do what? Like that was my confusion. I'm like, what is like trying to parse what was City's view of Shalea and Evan versus what was actually happening with Shalea and Evan, and then where they were disappearing to because it is a soft magic system, and you're left to sort of figure out and posit where you think they went. And so those three things, I was just like, I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. Are they going off like is Shalea saying that she's choosing Evan because she had this adventure with him, or I don't know. I don't know. So that's why I was like, how you gonna choose this random man? How
I
long
feel
were
like
y'all in
there's
that
a
portal after
line.
all? Like
I
what?
have to go look, but I feel like there's a line about how she said she wouldn't be with a white boy. Like I feel like that's a line in the story, like about the thing, because when he said something about Evan,
But
and she's
when
like, "You,
did
what are
she
you
say
doing?"
that?
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't think it was that. I think it was just like, I think because of the way in which one Evan is older than them and being like he's from a different time,
Yeah,
and
true.
him saying
Hmm.
the freedmen school and this is what we're doing, like I think that she clung to that making a difference thing, right? That's
Hmm.
again is all my interpretation and everything like that, like how I took it, because
Right.
again like City was like, the city was pouting. City was pouting a little bit. It was pouting a little bit. But I think it was more so because in his head, he was like, well, if she changes the world with him, it won't be me. And I know that she said she could love me if I help her change the world. And if
Mm,
it's somebody else helping her change the world that's not me, could she love them instead?
yeah.
Because again, like if
Mm,
there's one thing City loved in that book, it was Shalea. Like there was no denying that
yeah.
he loved that girl and would do anything for that girl. Um, and I think the
Hmm.
part of why Bays ended up being so important was because I think for him it was at least the acknowledgement that I got Shalea, and not just I got Shalea, like we had a family. So I know that there has to be that love there because we created
Yeah.
a family. But if she goes back and she changes the
Hmm.
world, I won't ever have that family. So let me enjoy it while I still can. That's
So
how I took it.
do you think that she went back and then they ceased to exist? Because that's what I saw happening
I
when
don't
she was
think
like having
anybody
the
ceased to
cramps or
exist.
feeling
I just think they're not there. Like I think you think they cease to exist in that time frame, but they don't cease to exist completely.
mm-mm, not everybody, Babe specifically. Because to what you said about like if Shaleia like the reason that City held on to Babe is because she's proof that he and Shaleia do actually choose each other, have a feeling that it is that. I totally agree with that. And so she's the only one that we see having this kind of reaction where it's like, what is this sickness that you're having? And City seems to intuit that it is a product of Shaleia's choice to continue time traveling and them not having that future, which means they don't have babes, which means the rest of them might continue to exist because their parents are already with whatever. But specifically, Babe's existence is tied to Shalea and City being together, and if she's bouncing around time, they're not. And so that's why I was like, her specifically. I think that Babe might not exist anymore. I don't know that she's just bouncing around time with her parents because why was she having that sort of reaction
Well, so my
physically?
thing is, I don't think that she's necessarily bouncing around time. I think that she ceased to exist in 1985 at that time frame because they're changing it. I'm saying that with the way that the story goes, that whatever line of actions that Shalea was about to choose would lead to that, but not necessarily in as many times as she goes back to time travel. Like I think it's just the depending on what you change, this changes something else. So not necessarily that they wouldn't meet completely because long division still happens and exists, right? All this happened supposedly in
Mm,
1985. Still somehow 2013 still happens in that way. So that's more so where I was like, I'm not entirely sure that it's that they go back in time, that they die, or just that they don't exist in that same time frame that they used to. Because how is city
Yeah, I
both
don't know.
14 in 2013 and 14 in 1985, but like living a whole
Mhm.
life, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
when
that's where I'm just like, I'm
He
clearly
knows
gonna have to
Bays
read
as a child. He knows Bays as a child
Right.
prior to going back in time. He knows who she is. It's the other city that meets Bay. So that's why I'm like playing with the time is what I like the
Mm.
most about it, because it's the 1985 city that meets Bays, but the 2013 Bays city knows who Bays is, and they both live and are growing up in this same time frame.
How is the book Long Division, like the story within the story that City is reading? How is that formatted in the novel? Is it formatted differently than
It's
the
formatted
regular
like
text?
two different books. So like there's a point in the middle where like the book does like this, and then
Okay.
you go through, and then
Okay, now.
you have to flip it over and read it this way.
Oh, backwards?
Well, not technically. I think you
Are you
flip it
reading it
over and
backwards?
you go back to the start because it says book two.
So you're still reading it left to right.
Yeah, you just have to go back and start. Once you
Oh,
get to the middle, you know to flip it and go back,
I
and
think I'm
then
gonna
it
have to
starts
buy the
where you're
physical book because
1985.
there were too
Well,
many.
you do also because the audio book is not the same as the physical book. The audio
Hmm.
book came out with the first version, so there's things in this version that aren't in the audio book. And I think that might be another reason why I view it a little bit differently. Cause like in the audio book
I
or in the
I
physical
would
book,
realize at some.
go ahead.
Sorry, there's a delay, so we're not actually talking over each other, but you're hearing me like 5 seconds after. I was saying I would realize at some point, oh, there's been a shift. This is the narrative city, not the city that I met on page one, right? Like that, they were. It wasn't a book one, book two. It was very meta.
Right.
So you
It
just
just
have to pay
switches
attention
between the
to,
two.
did
Yeah.
he just open a book? Yes.
Yeah. No, the way that they put it in there, it does go like I opened up Long Division in the audiobook, and then the next chapter will be from that point. But if you're not paying attention to the end of how that last chapter ended, you're not gonna hear that. And since everybody's names are the same, because Bays is mentioned in 2010
Right.
and in 1985, and Mila Hatchie, the place, is mentioned, so because it's all in the same world and whatnot, right? Um, but I like that. So in the original book or in the audio book, he does the test again, right? Like he reads over the test and you like hear the answers or whatever. In the physical book, it's Bays's
Mhm.
answers to the test. So like that there are like
Cool.
just certain things that are different and certain phrases or ways that he worded stuff that is slightly different from the way it is in the audio book, and I think that's intentional. Um so yeah. So like the first time he gets the test, he gets it from the teacher and it's just blank, and then
Oh,
later in the book when they bring up the test again, it's Bays's answers, not City's answers.
okay. That's probably why you're so convinced that she's still alive, and I'm just like, we have no evidence of that. Because in the audiobook that I read, it's he goes back and sees his own answers again, and he got an 80%, and the principal's like, do you know which ones you got wrong? Like it's just him.
Yeah. And in the physical book, it's Bays. And Bays has gotten the same test that he got, and so just even in that, 1985 to 2010, how'd y'all get the same exact test, and why are y'all testing people in the exact same way? And what in what other part of
Right.
public education does that happen? It doesn't. So like again, right, I just think, and I think again, like it deals with the family. And honestly, the number one reason I'm convinced it's something with the family is his grandma. Because that's the
Like how she took
same.
it that her husband was gone.
Right, well, that, and it's the same grandma that Baze is living with.
Mm, that is interesting. What what do you think about her getting arrested at the end? Does that happen in the physical book that you have?
Who got arrested?
The
What got
grandma,
arrested?
she was like, "Some people about to come get me for what I did to that white man in the garage."
Did she get arrested though, or she just said that? That's what I guess I missed it. Was it like, did
She
police
said
say
it.
she said?
She no, she
Oh,
didn't. She told him to leave before they came.
oh yeah, yeah. No, I just thought that was more so because again in the time frame, like I thought that was more so like um her fear of them reacting to her hurting a white man. I didn't think like
Okay.
she was actually getting arrested or nothing.
She seemed very convinced.
Right, but there's a lot of things that like older black people be convinced of because of stuff that has like happened before that don't necessarily be how it is now. It's just how it always was, type of deal. So
I'm gonna have to read it again. That seems. Was she in 1985 thinking that, or was this a 2010? Is that in the physical book or no?
in the physical book that she hurt the man.
That she thought that she told City to leave because they were gonna come get her for it.
So I don't remember it reading like that. Like I just remember her saying that like there gonna be some people who didn't like what she did, but she didn't care because that it needed to be done. I don't remember it being like somebody was coming to get her. That's why I was like a little
No.
confused. But it's definitely not that hard to go back and like read because you said
Oh
it was like
yeah,
at the end of the thing.
audiobook.
Yeah, no, this is
We
also
have about
why I
10 minutes
remember. I
left.
remember thinking it wasn't that because Mama Laura walked out of one of the rooms while I was thinking. She looked exactly like she looked back in 1985. You're a witch, ain't you? I asked her, and you watched it all happen, didn't you? Just like the sky. Please just tell me, is any of this real? Even after all you've been through today, does my baby still believe in witches and magic? Hell yeah, I told her. I'm sorry for cussing, but witches, magic, and ninjas might be all I believe in right now. I held my head right there in that desk and tried to listen to my heartbeat. I don't understand, Mama Laura. If we change the future, how come I'm still here? How come you look the same in 2013 as you did in 1985? Say something. Why would my mama and daddy still have me if we change the future? It doesn't make sense. And then she says, people disappear, City. She said, ignoring my question. We live, we wonder, we love, we lie, and we disappear. Close the book. So yeah, that's why I was like, I don't remember
Yeah,
her
I
being like that at the one that and what I read at the end.
maybe it's another difference between the audiobook and the physical book, but regardless, I need to read the physical book.
Yeah.
I just need to look at like there are just some books that I can't get through audiobook, and this is
Mhm.
clearly one of them. Like I got through it, but my understanding was highly deficient.
No, I definitely do.
In the last 10 minutes, is there anything else that you want to highlight or talk about that you really appreciate about Long Division? Something that you
I
want to ask
honestly,
TSA Lamont if you had the chance?
the number one thing that I appreciate the book has been the thing I've appreciated from every time I read it is how black it is. I appreciate how authentic the voice is. I
Mhm.
appreciate that it wasn't made to make anybody comfortable but the black man who wrote it. You know what I mean? Like when you were talking about how authentic the voice is and whatnot, like As much there was moments that were cringe, I didn't necessarily cringe because I was like, I'm not a boy. And I have brothers, and I know boys do think some stuff that is just out there, and you just be like, really, that's what you was coming up with. Okay, boy, all right, all right, okay. And I like that. Like I like that it wasn't. I would like that it wasn't whitewashed for anybody. I like that it wasn't pacifying for anybody. I liked that he told a story with a child main character that is still very much so an adult book. He showed that you don't have to, oh, I have to write YA because I wrote young characters. No, you don't. There's no part about this book that I ever was like, ooh, I'll recommend this to my nephew. No, 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 not till he's quite a bit older. Not at all. But I liked all the elements of the story that I think came together for it to be authentically black. And I like that it was a black man writing this speculative sci-fi meta type thing. Like I like that it wasn't something that I was used to. It was a new experience and it left me feeling fulfilled. Like I didn't leave this story wanting anything. And I mean again, for this to be your I want to say this was his debut novel, like you did some amazing things with storytelling that I had never read before, and I hadn't seen someone show me how possible they were. Like I think it's possible because it's what I want to do and it's how I write, but how many people am I actually seeing actively write out their blackness in storytelling authentically? It's not that many. It's not that many at all. And he was doing it back in 2013, a whole 11 years ago. I
Hmm.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Right,
it.
right, right. I think for me, encountering this book, um, I just really appreciate the fact that I mean, and this is like you said, 2013, so this is before um people really became aware of Jordan Peele and we're really talking about Black social horror as much as they are now with its own like category. This is before Get Out, all of that. But because I'm reading it after all of that, I appreciate even more reading a book where Black people are encountering history and the book does not become a social horror. Like these are facts. History happened, they go back, they intervene, they are aware of the dangers, but it does not take over the tone or the aesthetic of the book. And I just really appreciate that. Like Black history, talking about Black people does not have to put something into a terrible category. It can still be about love. And for City, it always was. He was willing to encounter that terror for Shalea very specifically. And I just really take as a writer, you can talk about hard things without allowing it to take over the book. Even and especially if people expect you to let those hard things take over the book. You can show them that doesn't have to be it. Like blackness is big and it is complex. And as Du Bois said in a letter, when someone, it was the college or some consortium, and they were asking, "Does the Negro cry?" And he wrote them back in a sort of poetic way, like he do, she do, they do, we do. And it's just like, and it's just that simple. We do. And we do even when it's about slavery. We do even when it's about parents disappearing in a store. Like we do. We feel. And it is beautiful. And I just like seeing an author navigate big things with just grace and conviction. And I think that for me was, even when I was like, I don't know what's going on, I was always very aware of the conviction with which this story was being told and these characters had been crafted. And that, as a writer, I enjoyed without having to have full mastery of the story.
I'm just
All
glad
right.
I got
Thank
you to
you all for
finally read
joining us.
it.
I know it's been a while. It's been a while because the first time I was where Shay was reading it, she and Deidre had read it together, and they were like, "This book is amazing. We love it. Da 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 da. All things
That's
considered." That's all I'm gonna say.
that's
I
the
was
funny
like,
part. That
"Oh,
was my second time reading it at that part. Cause like I read it because of Bree.
oh,
The first time I read it because of Bree. Cause Bree read it and Bree was like, "Cachet, cachet, yo, we black girl, black, like owes me nothing." So then I read it and I brought it up to Deidre, and I'm gonna read it again. And brought it up to Deidre, and then this is my third time reading it. So
okay." Titan's just like, "Can I just give you a kiss, Mom? I think you're awesome." Um,
chill out.
I'm about to let it go, Titan. I'm about to send it right back to you. Um, Yeah, so thank you all for joining the book talk. For those of you who are watching live, thank you. Make sure you like the stream. For those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you. Make sure you put a big thumbs up if you've read this book and there's anything in it where you were like, oh, here was my favorite part, or here's my take on where Shelley is or where Baze is. Definitely put that in the comments. One of my favorite things about the speculative genre is it's rare for you to be able to tell someone that they are completely wrong because that's the nature of speculation. Guess, posit something. What do you think? And just encourages conversation and imagination. So, what are your theories about where everyone is? And what are your theories? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. We would love to see them. I know Shay would love to see them. So, if you've read the book, share your thoughts on where are they now. And if you haven't read them, and you're thinking about reading it, what did we say that made you like, I want to read that? What was it? Um, Thank y'all so much for joining us. It is about to be the third annual Missy Elliott Readathon. So I am going to pause and let the creator of the Missy Elliott Readathon remind y'all what it's about, what are the prompts, what are the dates, and where you can find out more information on her YouTube or on her other socials so that you do not get left behind on the train that is
I appreciate you that intro. All right, everybody. The Missy Elliott Readathon is a Black History Month readathon where the entire month we are encouraging you to read books by Black authors. This year's theme is The Royal and Me. All the prompts are based off of Missy Elliott's Iconology EP that she created in 2019. They're made off the visuals for that EP, and so my lovely co-host, which actually happen to be in the chat, a writing day and Shade Tree Reads. We will be having reading spreads during the month, and the group reads are Out There Screaming, the horror anthology edited by Jordan Peele. It has N.K. Jemisin, it has Tana Reeve Dew, it has Dr. Okorafor in there. And then Delicious Monsters by our own YouTube author tuber Lizelle Sanberry. It was her thriller, YA thriller debut. And so since it came out at the end of Black History Month, a lot of people didn't have time to read it for the Missy Elliott Readathon. So we're correcting that this year. And also, if you check my channel, you'll see the playlist and my announcement video. There will also be a link to the Tender Beast pre-order because her book comes out again in February and it comes out again at the end of the month. So just make sure we're showing love and support in that direction. So yeah, it that's all I got for you, Missy Elliott Readathon. We only got 6 prompts, all stackable. The two group reads hit all 6 prompts, so nothing too strenuous for you guys at all. And I swear by Delicious Monsters. Like I read it, I loved it. 5 on 5 stars easily. I have not read Out There Screaming, but Deidre has, and she enjoyed the story. She said, obviously with an anthology, some you love, some you're like but you gonna find something in there you feeling, and that's all that matters.
yeah. Yeah, and I've shared my thoughts on anthologies and how they're historically just very important to Black authors for gathering stories for voices that big publishers won't print. And even though it sounds like Out There Screaming is a sort of star-studded anthology, still like anthologies historically are important too. to Black writers. So, and it's just a way to encounter them with less commitment, like with less of a time commitment. It's not reading the 100,000 Kingdoms. It's not reading the Akata Witch trilogy. Like it's encountering them in a short form story and getting to see how they write in that way. Is it the same? Have you never read anything by them? Do you want to try? Like it's just a lighter lift. And I think and I'm seeing a lot more bookstagrammers talk about this on Instagram, how they're like there's a really big push to be like, oh, I read 100 books a year and I read 400-page books in 3 days, and like you're like I don't. Neither of those things are true about me. I don't read 100 books a year. I do not crush 400-page books. I might read it, but it's not going to take me 3 days. It's going to take me like a couple of weeks or more. Like I'm a slow reader. I have a full-time job that does not involve books, so like I like doing it, but I can't crush it like that. And that's okay. And for all the girlies who are like me, we over here. So anthologies really help you to find short stories, which normally be published in literary magazines that you may or may not be aware of, may or may not be subscribed to. Stories that you might not otherwise find can be found in anthologies. So I'm a huge proponent of them. To my knowledge, there has been an anthology listed or recommended to, if not every Missy Elliott readathon, definitely the second one and this one. So like really appreciate like
Yeah,
the
no, this is the
amplification
second
of
year
this
we
super
made an
important genre.
anthology. It's definitely the second year we made an anthology group, and it probably will be something we continue to do because it does allow for the people participating to get to read more Black authors. And that's one of my favorite reasons for suggesting it.
Yeah,
Like literally, is because you get a chance to meet more authors in that one book than if we just gave you two novels, right?
right.
So no, I definitely love that component. We
Yeah,
did it
yeah.
last year, and I was like, I want to try to get in this year. I tried to get in this year, so I'm glad we were able to find one that fit with the theme.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's what's coming up, y'all. If you were not with it, you're about to get left behind. All of Shay's socials are in the description box of this video, so definitely follow her on Instagram. I'm sure there'll be updates on Missy Elliott Readathon the closer we draw to February. So if you're not following her on Instagram, it's at 50SO Shay. Definitely follow her there if you have not already subscribed to her YouTube channel. Unlikely, but if you haven't, it's Shay with the Hobbies, THA Hobbies. So definitely make sure you are following her. And for those of you who are like, of course I follow Shay everywhere she goes. I'm not a stalker, but I do it. Make sure this year that you are sharing the content, right? Like, so if you're following her and you have, you know, your own YouTube channel, share it on your community board, share it on your socials. We really want to have new voices involved in these readathons every single year. We love the people who are like, we know that when the call goes out, you're going to come. We love the faithful few. But we want to also grow and amplify this opportunity to amplify Black voices. So the more people participate, the more that amplification is effective. So please make sure that you're not just participating, but that you are sharing the prompts, sharing the announcement videos, sharing the super fly graphics that Shay makes. Come on, share that on your YouTube, share that on your Instagram, all those things. Share, share, share. Thank y'all so much again for coming and talking with us or listening to us and interacting in the chat, interacting, we hope, in the comments after the video. We really appreciate it. This um, season of Riley Conversations, I am excited about it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. For those who are like, yeah, I'm into writing. I want to talk more about the craft. Sure. Absolutely, we do too. So this is going to be just like a really, really great writerly conversations where there's a really great balance between talking about books, talking about the craft in the books, as well as like, the characters charactering, and then just talking about writing as a craft in and of itself. Those are my favorite talks that Shay and I have, and we did, a number of them in season 2, and we want to get back to that in season 3 in a very like bite size, here you go, let's talk about this, unpack it way. So we're very excited. We hope you are too. So if you are not subscribed to my channel or Shay's channel, if you have not rung the notification bell, do it now. Ring that bell. ring that bell. But you don't miss a single upload, live, short, community post, none of that. And now that I have been doing outros for 10 minutes, I bid you all good night. Bye.